a longtime supporter of Speaker Hub. He's also a fascinating and great speaker who has been traveling all over Europe, maybe even beyond, to deliver speeches. And today he will be presenting to us a few issues of how to create a lasting business impact with your talks. Now, to make sure that you can all focus on the presentation, I'll welcome here Baldwin with the video, but after a few seconds, we'll turn that off. But I'll give you the opportunity to say hi to our participants from all over the world. Baldwin.
All right. Well, thanks, Andres. I'm really glad to be here. I'm proud to be here because you're right. I am a big fan of Speaker Hub. I love what you're doing. The solution is a solution that we all need. So to me, it's really exciting to be here and to talk about something that I'm kind of crazy about, which is hacking ways to grow your speaking business. So looking forward to this.
That's excellent. Thank you so much. And we really consider diversity an important aspect of Speaker Hub. So that's why we had speakers from the US, this time from Europe, and in later episodes we'll have even from Asia as well. So without any further ado, I'd suggest that although we turn off the camera, definitely not this, so we can get started with the presentation. And I'll pass the floor straight to you. With one technical note, or actually two, is that this webinar is being recorded, and everybody will be able to follow it afterwards. And you are welcome to put questions live in the chat box, and we'll try to answer that as we go along. And I apologize in advance if I may interrupt Baldwin here and there, but I think it's important we cover the topic inside out in a good interactive manner. So without any further ado, Baldwin, the floor is yours.
Yeah, let's turn this into a conversation more than a presentation. It's hard to call it a fireside conversation because we're not sitting together. There's no fire here, but let's make this something fluid. And yeah, so there may be a bit of a time delay between us. So if all of a sudden interrupting me, it's not interrupting me. It's just a technical thing. So anyway, the chat box is also firing up with people from all over the world as well. So great. Let's talk about what's on today's webinar. So we're going to be looking at how we can create a lasting business impact with your talks. And there's one way that I really like to do this, how I like to turn my presentations into an asset that I can just keep using over and over again. The way I like to do that is by recording them on video. And let's just get into this. I want to tell you a little bit more about what we are going to cover today. Well, first of all, I think video is an underutilized and very powerful medium to grow your speaking business. And I'm going to talk about why video is so interesting for that. I'm going to talk about an easy way to record and edit videos of your talks, because you may be thinking like, whoa, yeah, this is pretty complicated, right? You need a camera crew and so on. Well, a little spoiler as well, no, you don't. And I want to talk about that today. And I also want to talk about when you have these recordings, how you can position them as assets to promote your speaking business. So it's all quite straightforward and simple. And I hope you're going to be quite excited by what you're going to take away from this today, because believe me, it has made an impact on my speaking business. And so first, I tell you a little bit about who I am. So I guess I'm an aspiring speaker. I'm still really trying to grow my speaking business. I think I turned a professional speaker recently. It's not that long ago. But the thing is, what I really talk about all the time is I like to speak about the potential of using technology to build stronger human connections with your business. So we live in a virtual world, a digital world, all those things. And I think it's increasingly important to figure out how to make not only a more genuine human connection, but how to do much more of them, because there's an opportunity to connect with more people, and the magic combination is to figure out how to do it in a human way. And that sort of also leads me to focus on strategic business development and especially commercial storytelling, because obviously if you want to build relationships online, you sort of have to get people to pay attention to you. Enough about me. That gives you an idea of who I am. I have a little business called BD Insider, and the website bdinsider.com, but talk about that a little bit later. But let's get into the material of today. Let's talk about why videos are going to help you grow your speaking business. Well, and also, let me tell you a little bit about who this is for. Now, if you're a big shot speaker, you probably don't really need all this. But if you're like me and you're trying to raise your profile as a professional speaker, you're trying to grow your business, this is definitely something that's probably going to be useful to you. If you want to get more speaking opportunities as a professional speaker, or you want state-of-the-art personal branding, but you have a limited budget. So what I'm going to talk about here is really very, very affordable. And it's pretty much DIY. It's kind of fun too, right? Okay, first of all, why video? Well, we all know that video is on a spectacular rise. What we're seeing here is over 4 years. It's basically, this is an exponential curve that we're looking at here or more. We all know that the thing that's happening is, like, traditionally, to establish authority, the mainstream was to publish a book and then you'd sort of get recognition. Well, I have a feeling like there's a lot less bandwidth and time for people to actually consume books, and the rise of video is making it very easy for people to communicate their message. So I definitely think there's going to be a shift in where there's obviously a lot more consumption of video in favor of reading. So it's definitely something that you have to consider to build your authority through. Another thing that I often hear is like, yeah, but you know, the attention span is very limited and people don't like to watch long videos and so on. Well, I found some data which I find quite compelling. The way to read this chart is the 10 minutes or more bar is actually far higher, I think, over all mediums than we would give it credit for. So if you can get somebody to watch a Netflix show for 3 hours in a row, that also says that there is definitely bandwidth for video, but you just have to make sure that what you're putting on those videos are interesting enough for people to keep paying attention. So if you have something to say that's interesting, you know, the video medium is probably a very efficient way to get that message across. Okay, so another reason is because this is going to give you visibility. So what I find interesting is that most aspiring speakers out there, they still don't promote themselves with a video portfolio of their talks. And this is really, if you get into this now, it's definitely going to allow you to stand out considerably, because this is still a nascent opportunity. Another reason, like I said before, it helps you build authority, because there's really nothing like showing your mastery or demonstrating your mastery through your video talks. Is if you can come across as genuine and you can look like you're very comfortable speaking about your subject on the video, that comes across very strongly. Like a book is edited and all those kind of things. I'm not saying books are bad, okay, but I'm just saying that video gives us a unique opportunity to show that how fluent we really are in our subject.
Baldwin, maybe if I could interrupt you for 1 second here, just to really reinforce what you just mentioned from Speaker Hub's very own perspective, is that still quite a number of our speakers, those who are presenting themselves on the website, do not have a video. And it's one of the key reasons why we created a website like this, is that speakers can showcase videos, because that gives so much information about the person's ability to structure their message and showcase their speaking skills. Back to you.
Yeah, and it's absolutely right. And I've noticed that also. I found it quite surprising, because you actually set up a very nice place to showcase your portfolio, and hardly anybody's making use of it. But again, yeah, you're right. That's the key thing here. I mean, if you really want to show your mastery, there's nothing like being able to eloquently communicate on your feet about it without any editing. So this is an opportunity to stand out. If you get into this game now, you can still really stand out. There will be a time when everybody has their video, but that's not the time right now. So you probably want to rush into this. It's going to give you leverage. And so this is the thing about aspiring speakers like myself, right? I'm still on the steep, I hope on the steep end of my little speaking career, but I mean, if you have to go and jump on as many stages as you can just to get your visibility, what if you just have your video recordings of your talks? That should do the job much faster. So and one of the key things here is, even though you stand in front of an audience of 5 to 10 people, the world can see that talk if you record it on video. So you get enormous leverage out of this. That's, to me, probably my favorite reason to do this, right? it makes things very shareable, because this is, I don't know about you guys out there, but what happens to me is I get my speaking gigs because someone in the audience liked my presentation and asked me if I would come and do it over at their event or company. This is typically how this works. Now, it becomes even more powerful when those people sitting in the audience who enjoyed your talk or found it insightful get the opportunity to seamlessly share this with everybody else, either their boss, their colleagues, their clients, and so on. So it makes that, what you're going to have is, if you have an audience who really enjoyed the talk and you give them something to share, the likelihood of them doing that is very high. It's a risk reduction for the event organizer. Think about this. You get to try before you buy. An event organizer can pretty much picture what kind of a talk he or she is going to have at the event. And this is actually, it strengthens your profile in the eyes of the event organizer, because you do take away a lot of risk for them. It's a very attractive proposition for them and for you. Now, another thing that I found powerful is when I take control of my own video recordings, and there's a few snapshots of some recent talks that I did. I have this topic that I talked about, what's called B2H, which is business to human, which is how we can become more human with technology. My main topic, right? But you'll notice that, I'm not sure if you can see my mouse cursor here, but can they see that, Anders?
Normally, yes.
Okay, good. So you see, there's different brands up here, and I do this on purpose, because if I record a video of my talk and I feature the event organizer's brand, then they also have an incentive to go and share this, right? Provided that you have something to say and your talk went very well, there's a big opportunity of getting that shared on. So, it's not only you with your videos and your network sharing, it's also the event organizer or the company that hires you to talk. It makes them look good too. So there's an additional sharing effect there. I find that, and that again raises your value in the eyes of the event organizer. So that's another interesting opportunity to capture. So I think I hope I sort of established a few good reasons of why you should start thinking about using video to promote your speaking business. I'd like to get into the second part, and which is the part that you're probably maybe you're scratching your head like, okay, great, but how do you make these videos? Well, it's actually quite simple. I like to call this the DIY recording toolbox. So there's a few pieces of hardware that I use. One is the music note stand. So this is typically where musicians would put their music sheets on. I like those things because you can put a laptop onto it. Now, I use this because I turn we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but there's software packages that allow you to turn your laptop into a recording and editing studio. So what I do is I put my laptop on one of these stands, I place it not too far away from me in front of me, and the laptop records my talk, but it also, while I'm doing that, it serves as a teleprompter, which is kind of cool. So that's an additional benefit. And I'm going to speak about this a little bit later, but one of the things that you obviously have to insist on when you do these talks, let's be realistic. Most of the time, it's going to be us organizing the talks, right? So just you have to make sure that you can use your own hardware to reap these benefits. So you're going to be using your laptop as your camera, as your audio recording device, and as your editing device. It all comes in one box. It will become clear in a few minutes, so bear with me. So the other thing that I like to use is a Logitech HD webcam. That is the model that I like to use. The reason for that is this costs about $100, but it's a really good investment because the quality of the video it allows you to make pretty professional recordings, but also it adjusts very good to the lighting situation. And you, for example, if you're in a conference room, typically they would dim the lights, they would shine some light on you, and you'd have the gleaming light of a presentation behind you. So this camera does a very good job at mitigating all that. So that's why I like to use that one. And the way I do this is what I would do is I put this camera then on top here of my laptop, right? So that's the second piece of hardware. And then I use a lavalier microphone, or lavalier microphone. I never really figured out how to say this, but the key thing is, and that's what I'm talking through right now, you really audio is very important to make good videos. Videos with bad audio, folks will tune out. So make sure to get one of these. They come in with a standard jack size. If you plug that into your computer or your phone, it pretty much works like a nice microphone. Make sure that I use a long cord. So the cord on my lavalier microphone is 6 meters. That's 20 feet. That gives me enough maneuvering room. You can also get a wireless one. Much more expensive. It's a budget of $200 to $300. But for me, the cord, the one with the long cord, works very well. And that's just means that you're always going to have great.
Baldwin, just one word to say, sorry for interrupting, is that just to again underline what you're saying, because I basically checked hundreds and hundreds of speaker videos over the past few months as we were welcoming new speakers, and I do see the ones who have video, audio tends to be always the weak point, because with mediocre lighting, speakers can get by. Because you say, well, it's anyways a video. We don't necessarily have expectations that it's going to be very polished and shiny. But if the audio is bad, that's a real turnoff. So I think if you invest in anything, invest in a good microphone.
I could not agree more with you. You're so right, because audio is, I mean, even the thing is, the image can be sort of below par. And that's fine, because it's going to make it only going to make it look more genuine. But the audio is key, because in the end, people have to get your message. Now they can figure out through your body talk what you're saying, but they really want to hear what you have to say. And again, I think a lot more people obsess with image quality than audio. And I used to do that as well. And I just noticed the difference when I started really paying attention to getting my audio right. Then you need a wireless clicker or mouse. I use one of those Apple Magic Mouse as a wireless mouse to do that. But I mean, if you're on a Windows system or whatever, you prefer a clicker, you can get these. You plug in a USB in your laptop, and off you go. You can steer your laptop/recording device from a distance. And then finally, you need the applications to make this all work together. So again, I insist, I use ScreenFlow because I have a Mac, but you can also use Camtasia if you're on Windows. So on Mac, you can use both of these. They're both in a similar budget. I think ScreenFlow is around $100 and Camtasia is a little bit more expensive, but they pretty much do the same job. So what they do is they record the video, and the cool thing is while you're recording the video, what you can also do is you can simultaneously record what's on your screen. So I'm just going to jump back a little bit. I hope you don't mind, but I just want to show you something. What you see here, right? Well, I couldn't do it here, but what you see here is that was simultaneously recorded with my talk, so I can just insert that, and that's really powerful. So it records the desktop while it records your video, and it also renders the sounds. And so what you have is with this whole suite, really, for an investment of only $300, you can make state-of-the-art videos of your talks, and it's simple. It's really simple. And it's probably one of the highest yielding investments that you can do for your speaking business, because once you have this gear, you can just keep on going. Now, there's a few things are there any questions about the technological part before we move on?
Maybe I just wanted to ask, here's actually a question which you might be covering in the next few seconds, but why not ask it already now? So Sherry is asking, at events that include multiple speakers, do hosts allow you to use your own equipment?
Great question, because that's very important. I really insist on it, and that's why I bring this bag full of all these cables and stuff, so I can ensure that I can always plug in my own laptop. And so it's just pretty much your job to sort that out. So you have to insist on it. But if they won't let you do that, well, then it's just going to be a little bit more work, because then you're still going to be recording with your laptop on your stand. You're still going to be recording the audio and the video of you presenting. But what you're going to be doing later on in the editing is you're going to be adding the slides to your talk. So ideally, it makes things easier when you're allowed to project the slides onto the big screen of your laptop, because software allows you to capture that, right? But it's really not a big problem. And I would say, I don't really have a number for it, But most event organizers do want you to use their system. So you can insist on it, and sometimes they're like, well, okay. That's why I also like to show up early at events to work that out with technicians, But it's definitely not anything that's going to sabotage your intent of making your video if they want you to use their system.
Makes sense. Here's another question from Andrew, who's asking if you've ever had your equipment interfere with the professional equipment provided by the event.
Well, I guess so. I mean, the thing is, you're going to be the main difference is you're going to be using your own equipment. The only difference is going to be whether they allow you to project your slides on their screen. But all the rest can stay in your own closed circuit, right? So, for example, I have my lavalier microphone on, and next to it I can have another one on, which is for the PA sound system of the room, right? And yeah, sometimes you'd have this Jimi Hendrix effect, where there's the I don't know what the feedback, that could happen. But usually technicians sort that out. But I haven't really had major conflicts in that sense.
All right, that's reassuring. And here's one more question before you move to the next slide. So it's how do you deal with moving around the stage? So how are you restricted in your movement? And so thanks to the fact or attributable to the fact that you are recording yourself and there's a limited scope of what the camera can take in.
Very good question. And because this is important. I mean, because your camera is going to be in a fixed spot. You don't have a roaming cameraman. So what that means is what you have to do is this is what they do on a movie set. When you prepare, you mark your spot and you don't stray away from that too much. So I've actually done one where, for example, I was moving around a little bit too much. I allowed myself to move around too much. And then in the edit, I had to sort of like pan the camera along with me, right? Because I was filming from a distance. But the best practice is to mark your spot and pretty much stay on that spot. So if you're the kind of talker who jumps and dances around the scene, you probably want to put your camera far away. But generally, I don't know, there's opinions about this, but if you're a speaker, and speakers who move around too much tend to distract the audience anyway. So it depends on what your take is on that. But I would definitely recommend you to mark a spot and pretty much stay there and focus on the talk. But it's a great question, and it's something that, in your practice, you're going to learn how to deal with. You have to figure out by yourself, if you're a moving speaker, what the distance of your camera should be.
Right, and I think, Baldwin, here you've got a great idea from Bernadette, who says you could edit in the slides at those points where you actually move too far. So you can easily play around with what's on the screen depending on where you happen to be. Very, very smart indeed. You can exactly do that. So yeah, this actually in a few slides I'm going to offer you a free guide. I'm going to show you how to do this. I actually did a live session on this, so stay tuned for that. You're going to be able to download that. Okay, so getting ready for the talk is very important as well. Well, first of all, you have to tell the organizer that you're planning on recording. This is very important. They have to know this. The thing is, why? Because organizers get pretty nervous about you filming the audience. And most of the time, there's no release forms and all that in place for that. So they don't really know what to do with that. You have to assure them that you're not going to be filming the audience, but you're just going to be filming the talk. And you just have to make sure that they also understand that this is a branding opportunity for them. You're going to license that video to them as well, right? So you have to make sure that they understand this. Like we covered before, you really want to try to insist to use your own hardware. And again, the only complication for the event organizer is basically where that cable that projecting the screen goes into, whether it's in their system or your computer. So that's really the only really. But again, make sure that you can coordinate that with the organizer. Another thing is if you're going to be planning on using video, because I mean, good video uses a lot of, let's say a 20-minute video filmed in high definition is about 5 to 7 gigabytes. So there's a reason why TED Talk does their talks on 18 to 20 minutes, I guess, because again, it's aimed for video diffusion words, and it has to do with attention span and so on. So if you want to be successful in getting your whole message through on video, you probably want to adopt the TED Talk format of speaking for 18 or 20 minutes. Another thing is you can opt afterwards in the Q&A, you can opt to leave those out because sometimes you may get yourself into trouble by featuring people who are asking questions and you don't have their permission. So you probably want to, if you make your videos, you want to stick to the talk that you're delivering. All right.
Now, this is the guide that I was talking about. If I put together this guide because I didn't really want to make this too technical because then it just becomes too dense. But what I did is I put together this little guide where I walk you through all these little technical details. And in fact, I actually decided to show you live how this works. So what I did is I stepped into a big meeting room. I was in Madrid at the time. I filmed the presentation in which I explain all this. And then I take you into the video editor and I'll show you exactly how to edit these things and the results that you can get. It took me 20 minutes to do the presentation, edit it, and produce a video. So 20 minutes. Right? So I demonstrated live there. There's a video in that book, or there's a link to a video. So make sure to download that. You can do that on my website. It's speedinginsight.com, and then it's recording guide. And so, type in your email address and I'll send you the book. Definitely something to pick up. So now you have your video. You've understood why you need your videos, and you have your videos. And what are you going to use them for? So how are you going to move these around? Well, this is, remember what we said about leverage, right? Well, this is where we're going to apply that leverage. So let's start with our host site, Speaker Hub. They have this beautiful section where you have a lot of space to post all these videos. And you really should use that because it's really going to make your profile come more alive. So Speaker Hub is the obvious first one to mention, I guess. Not only out of courtesy for setting up these amazing webinars, but also it's just a place where people are going to be checking out speakers just like you, right?
Baldwin, maybe I just say something to reveal a little secret. Well, not a real secret, but to reveal our thinking. Those speakers who do not have videos uploaded, we very publicly display saying this speaker has not uploaded any media content yet. And we actually debated that internally, pretty much saying, should we say that? Should we really display that message that this speaker doesn't have videos, or just simply not display that section at all? And we said, we're going to display it because video is the #1 thing that an event planner will be looking for when they consider you seriously. Just as you said before, in terms of minimizing the risk, in terms of the branding element, and of course shareability, because very often you'd have the person who discovers you as a good fit for their event may not be the decision maker. So they would like to share your, say, credibility or your video with their peers or with their managers or the person who's eventually going to give green light that, yes, we can hire Baldwin for this specific talk. So yes, sorry, go on.
Yeah, you're so right about this because you're right. It just makes the whole decision process a lot easier. Yeah, that's a little slightly off, but that's one of the reasons why I love why I love good content, especially audiovisual content, because you allow other people to stick their neck out for you. It's going to be fine because they have something that helps them get what they want with your content, right? Very good point. All right, so here we go. LinkedIn. LinkedIn also has spots for your videos. And you should use that. If on your LinkedIn profile you say you're a speaker, we'll show it, LinkedIn, I don't have to tell you, it's the big search engine for talent increasingly. So it's kind of nice to put your videos on there, and they're pretty visible there if you put them on there. Facebook. Facebook is a great way to move your videos around. Pretty obvious. That's my page, Baldwin Berges' page, and I kind of show my videos there. It's kind of you can, Facebook or LinkedIn, you can actually, if you have a bit of a budget, you can actually target your videos to certain audiences if you want to. So that makes it even more interesting. YouTube, obviously, if you have videos, you should get a YouTube channel, right? So I use, basically, this is my repository of all my video content. So I have it all on YouTube because with those links I can post it elsewhere. I believe I post links, my YouTube links in Speaker Hub, right, Andres?
I hope so.
Right? Yeah,
I hope so.
That's what I think. I think how that works.
Maybe Baldwin, just one comment there is, I think with YouTube videos, obviously you're not expecting that any of your videos will ever go viral, or it might do, not for the reasons you expect, but you do expect that the right person will watch that video. So you're not aiming there for hundreds or thousands of views, but you're aiming for those very targeted views from those event planners who are just looking for a talk where you can participate as an expert.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly right. And actually, in the next slide, I can show you exactly how to put that to work. So last week, it happened again. Somebody came to me in my inbox and said, hey, I met you a few months ago. I saw you speaking. I'd like to do something similar at my company event. And I was able to send it to my speaker page on my web page. And, you know, there's a whole collection of all the talks. And I said, well, you know, why don't you have a look at these talks and you tell me which one you'd like? And, you know, the deal was done. Guess what? They got to see the product before they bought it, right? And so
we just have a question here because I see the embedded videos. It reminds me of Wistia as a plugin. I'm not sure if I identified correctly, but the question is whether YouTube, Vimeo, or which plugin or video hosting service do you use?
Okay, so I use YouTube as the main repository. When it comes onto my site or when I'm allowed to, I also use Wistia, which is another video platform, which costs me a little bit of money, but it's worth paying for. Wistia makes what I like about Wistia is it really puts it very cleanly onto screen. So I like Wistia, but also Wistia gives you good statistics. So those are the platforms that I use. I don't use Vimeo. I never really found a compelling reason to use it, so it's either Wistia or YouTube for me.
Yeah, it's interesting because this is, I think, the main reason why anyone would use Wistia, which is with wistia.com, is because the analytics. So you can see how far somebody has watched a certain video. You can see demographics, browsers, and things like that, which you can then turn into business intelligence.
It gets kind of creepy, actually, because, yeah, you're right. I mean, if you have someone's email address and you send the video to them, you can actually spy on them how much they watched about it. But it's powerful. It gives you, for me, for example, although I can't really tell who's watching my videos by name, it does give me feedback on the parts that people pay most attention to. And actually, now that I'm thinking, I should have gotten a screenshot of that to show you how exactly that works. But maybe we'll do that maybe I'll add that to the guide. Maybe I can update this guide because it's an online guide. So good. So another thing about the speaker page is, well, you have the Speaker Hub page, you have LinkedIn, but you still have your own page. And the reason is because I find this a very good way to sort of also, it's a very useful resource for event organizers, because on my speaker page I have there's going to be a picture that they can use for the brochure. There's going to be the bio that they want to put in the brochure. So it's really like it's a one-stop shop for everything that they need, right? And so, and also if they ever want to sort of like, I mean, obviously license these videos to them, but sometimes they'll just go and say like, okay, check out the video that happened at our event, and that gets sent to their list, which is kind of amazing, right? And then, it makes blog posts a lot more fun, right? So again, based on the argument that I think we're going to have a gradual decline in content being absorbed through reading and a clear rise in content being viewed, making your blog, taking out parts of your presentation about a certain point that you want to make in your blog post. You can share your whole video, or you can just cut out a few minutes of that, make the point. That's pretty powerful. That's a pretty good content. So definitely videos are great to boost your blog posts. So that's pretty much what I wanted to cover today. I think I'd like to go into a little bit of run through the key takeaways here. First of all, so I think videos are becoming the preferred content format. I think in a world where we're going towards virtual reality, that's only going to accelerate further. So definitely get ready for that. Videos of your talks are going to give you more visibility, leverage, you're going to get more authority, and it's going to help you get hired as a speaker. People are going to be more confident about hiring you if they can see, they can try before they buy. And I think hopefully I was able to demonstrate to you, or at least convince you to entertain the thought that recording your talks on your own is actually fairly easy, and that you don't really need a whole professional team around you. You can pretty much make a video that I'm not going to say it's totally state of the art, but it's going to be really decent. And I mean, another point is I think if your videos are too polished, they're going to look like they're too engineered. Don't forget that what people like is genuinity. And if you make something genuine that looks good, you're onto something. And then finally, these recordings are gold. They're assets, right? So it's going to allow you to promote your speaking business across a variety of platforms. And your talks are going to be seen while you're sleeping, as the cliche goes, I guess. And so, yes.
Sorry, just wanted to ask regarding the previous page with the takeaways, is what do you think about recording your workshop, for instance? Because there the format is obviously different, and you might spend a couple hours, half a day, maybe a full day running a workshop. So I presume that's not something you would consider recording at any point. What do you think about that?
Totally. I record. I do recordings on my own sometimes without an audience. I record workshops. Yeah, absolutely. Totally. And it's a good point that you're raising because you don't actually have to get in front of an audience to showcase your talk. Pretty much like in the guide that, and this guide, the video in there, actually there was no audience, so I did this by myself. So you're right, you can actually create a whole portfolio of your talks, just you and the camera.
I think that's a very, very, very good point, because some of the speakers who are starting up and they are fairly new to the speaking world may not have an audience yet. So it's a chicken and an egg problem of which one do you do first. And if you get on a stage which is a real stage, so not just say in a meeting room, but really on a stage, and you get an opportunity to record yourself, that's why I very much like your point on authority. Because being on a stage gives you a lot of authority, even if there is no audience and you are still delivering a talk, which shows your speaking abilities, shows you that you're able to be on stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I saw some things coming through in the chat box here. I saw Linda asking a question about. I just want to make sure that that's very clear. Yes, you can project your slides, and so you can project your slides and record them at the same time. Yes, Linda, that can be done. Bernadette is also asking about, suggesting that you transcribe your videos. Absolutely. You know, Bernadette, that's how I write. I basically either I use my videos or the stuff that I mumble to myself in my phone or whatever as the guideline for me to write. So that's how I start writing, actually. So it's a good idea as well. Yeah, puts you on the spot. Let's see. Again, so if you didn't have a chance to, if you missed that slide before, that's where you can get your free guide here. Not a very long guide, but hopefully it will help you understand this a little bit better. I am at your disposal if you have any further questions. So you can get in touch with me via the website or via Andres. I'm happy to answer more questions. The chat box was pretty fired up, so I don't think we got to all the questions.
Yes, but we're definitely going to parse through the questions and make sure everything gets answered, whether now or in a follow-up. But we have a couple more minutes before we finish the webinar, and here's one question that's very interesting, actually. It says, let me scroll up. If I succeed, I may not. But anyways, the essence of the question was whether you're not concerned that they might not hire you because of your video. So your video backfiring because it just didn't go as you planned. What do you think about that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it can happen. It's definitely a possibility. So I'm not quite sure where the concern comes from. If it comes from the video not being good enough, that's just like speaking itself. Practice, practice, practice. I mean, if you want to, for the Americans out there, if you want to up your batting average, you have to swing the bat. You know, so that's one thing. So get good at that. I mean, I'm not going to say that you're going to get this kit or whatever, and next week you're going to have awesome videos. I mean, you should see my first videos. I'd love to watch them because they make me giggle. But the thing is, you know, it's going to take some time before you feel entirely comfortable in front of that camera. That's one thing. The video may, I like to see things a little bit more in line of maybe destiny. If the event organizer actually sees the talk and doesn't hire because of the video, well, that probably means that it wouldn't have been a good idea to present the material anyway. think you're sort of doing everybody a favor that way. So then again, I have more of a positive attitude toward these things. I try to have one. So, but I must say the videos have helped me more than they've worked against me. So if I have to look at it that way, it's totally skewed positive for me at least.
I think I'm totally sold on the idea, and very honestly, I myself didn't really consider recording my talks unless it was recorded by the organizer directly. But I think with this equipment and this approach, it can totally work out very good. Another thing that actually somebody mentioned here in the questions is, say, uploading the audio portion of your video to other platforms, maybe to iTunes, which kind of fits into the broader concept of repurposing content, which is what you hinted at when you said you can create a blog post, maybe you can transcribe it, you can embed your slides. So not limit yourself to the video itself, which is already great, but then repackage it and use it on other platforms as well.
Yeah, and if you're a real content ninja, then you think like that, right? You make sure that the way you speak and the way you structure your talk is also valid as an audio only, and it also pretty much looks like a, you know, if you're going to do a real TED talk, and you're going to have everything really nicely rehearsed, then it can also be the transcript of a piece that you write. So if you're a real content ninja, you're gonna aim at repurposing everything as much as you can.
Yes, and that's something we're actually also doing with this webinar series, where we provide a transcript. So anyone who'd like to read the detailed words and insights from Baldwin can definitely do that. It's going to take us a couple of days to get it done, but it's definitely something we're going to be sharing. And yes, content ninja, it is definitely a good expression. So I think with that, we'll conclude. And as I said, we're going to be checking the questions, and we'll find a way to answer those, whether Baldwin might write a blog post about it or find other ways in the recordings page that we're going to be sharing on Speaker Hub. But those questions will be answered. So with that, Baldwin, thank you so much for all your insights and ideas. And I think it was very, very inspiring and at the same time highly practical of how to get more videos online and increase your chances of getting hired. So thank you so much also for everyone around the world for being with us from Europe, US, and Asia, which is fascinating that there are so many aspiring speakers out there. So Baldwin, thanks very much. And I guess you are available for emails, questions, and any sort of follow-up.
Absolutely, and thank you for setting this up. It was an honor and a lot of fun, so I had a great time.
Excellent. Now, all that's left for me is to mention our upcoming webinar, which is in 1 week, and we're going to be having Alfred from the US, who will discuss webinars as a tool for speakers. So stay tuned and hope you can join us next week. Baldwin, thanks very much, and
take care. Keep presenting.
Excellent. Thanks again.